So now that you know the categories that every email falls into, let's talk about the different ways you can send those emails to your subscribers to move them through the customer value journey. Now, there are only two ways that emails are sent, and the first way is broadcast. Now, the only emails that should ever be broadcast are promotions and timely content. Why? Well, let's look back at the customer value journey. When we are looking at the segment or the phase of the journey that will receive broadcast emails, we're predominantly talking about the engage phase. Now, the engage phase is where all subscribers ultimately end up when they fall out of the journey. And if we look at this specific definition of what happens in the engage stage, the prospect reads a blog post, engages on social media, watches a video, etc. Well, if the first time they were made aware that we existed, that's how they moved from engaged to subscribe, and they've become unengaged, or they're sitting in the engaged phase, it makes sense to leverage the same type of activity to get them back in the journey. So we need to leverage a broadcast to send timely content or promotions to engage our customer and move them to the next phase of the journey. All other email campaigns should be triggered by a specific subscriber action or behavior. So once we've moved past engage into the next phase and into the subscribe phase, each and every campaign in this phase should be triggered. So once someone opts in for a gated piece of content, a conversion campaign should be triggered to try to get the sale. Once a sale or a conversion has happened, an ascension campaign should be triggered to excite and ascend the customer. Once the customer has ascended to the top of the value or ascension ladder, then a feedback or review or testimonial campaign should be triggered to turn that customer into an advocate. And finally, once the customer has delivered a testimonial or given a review, a campaign should be triggered to move them from a passive promoter or an advocate into an active referral partner or promoter. So when we're looking at how are different emails sent, broadcast emails are sent to get people from the engagement campaign back in the flow of the value journey. Once they're in the flow, all other emails should be triggered. Now, here's a warning. Just because you can trigger a message doesn't mean you should. A good rule of thumb is don't be creepy. Now, especially today, when we're dealing with privacy and first-party data and third-party data issues, be careful at the types of mails that you're triggering. At least be careful with the content in the mail that you're triggering. So let's talk about some examples of triggered emails. First example is a welcome email. So anytime someone subscribes to the list, obviously that should trigger a welcome email. Now, as a customer moves further and you start to enrich that data, maybe you have some milestone emails. You have more first-party data about that customer. So maybe you know their birthday or their anniversary or their dog's birthday, depending on the business that you're in. The amount of data that you have and allow you to trigger milestones either with them personally or with their relationship to the brand. Remember, the second primary goal of email is to create and facilitate bonding. So if the customer's 1-year anniversary of subscribing to the brand comes up, that's a great time to trigger an email. If their 1-year anniversary of their first conversion comes up, that's a great time to trigger an email. It is an activity that you would do with someone out in the real world if you had a relationship and you were seeking to invest in the building of that relationship. So why not do it here? A lead magnet delivery, so any type of gated content delivery, a registration confirmation, a purchase receipt, an ascension, if we're talking upsell or cross-sell campaign, review requests, referral requests, cart abandonment emails. So again, we're getting down into some of the negative actions that we want to redirect back into that journey, and then re-engagement campaigns. These are all examples of campaigns that would be triggered by some sort of subscriber action or known first-party data. So now that you know the two different ways that emails can be sent, broadcast and triggered, and how and when to use each one to move your prospects through the customer value journey, let's look at something that's often ignored but incredibly important: who your emails are from.